Welcome to Insights. I'm Eric. I think we're going to need to talk about silver again here. Last Thursday, I suggested that silver might be vulnerable to a short covering rally. It might be targeted by whoever, um, whether it be the WSB group or the Reddit crowd. It's most likely far deeper than that. There's international money that's involved. So this is not just a simple targeting by people that are trading from their house. What we talked about in the video was the vulnerability in terms of if the market turns upside down, the computer, as we open up a reduced version of the matrix here, is sitting on a fairly large energy build. We're not going to discuss into that, or you can go look at the past video to get a further discussion about that. We're not going to touch that right now, but we want to study how silver will be playing within the evolution of the trade. I do think that in general, the rally that we have here and we're seeing this morning, and I put up the quote list here for the precious metals complex, we're seeing a sharp rally relative to gold. So clearly there's a targeting of it. Again, it was something that we brought up last week as a possibility. Um, but silver in itself has been in the evolution of the trade. A long time ago it flipped, and well, first there was an energy build which caused a nibble. That was probably more in this range right here. Then the primary trend flipped. It was a flip in progress and flipped. We can see by the reduced version of the matrix here, it's been flipped up for 8 months and produced a 48% return. Clearly that's going to pick up this week. Some of this, into this original rally, some may have reduced or took profits as the daily trend really got extended. I believe it was the price cycle was 8 standard deviations above the normal cycle, which could have led to profit taking. But remember, the position that we built was first a nibble and then a flip, which then establishes a core. A core could have been in addition to the nibble. So maybe the really sharp run-up reduced some of that early nibble position and took a little bit of money off the table. But ultimately, the way the evolution of the trade goes, we follow this trade as long as the primary trend remains, the time and price and time cycles remain suitable. Whether or not they're above their cycle means or below, I'm not going to talk about this one in the open content. You can watch the subscriber videos for specific details on where we stand within that. But silver should be held, the core position should be held and should have not been sold off in entirety. That's the point of the evolution of the trade, is to allow time to build your position up. I mean, time is the driver of profits ultimately, not so much in the short-term trading. I don't know a lot of short-term traders that can beat the primary trend with as few as transactions as the primary trend offers. The primary trend offers basically an in and an out, and short-term trading is going to require multiple transactions and tax commitments, and it is tough to beat. I mean, that's the whole point of the evolution of the trade. It's not drawn out from some random concepts. It's drawn out from decades of experience. Well known in what it's like trying short-term trade, and there's difficulties within that. Following the primary trend removes the emotion, but it also exposes you to the power of time. And right now, the power of time is still with silver. So the core position in silver should still be held. It should be held until the price cycle, until the time cycles become extended. That could mean an early entry, or it could mean an entry of which just is driven by exit of time. The computer itself doesn't show, it's not red, it doesn't show primary trend decline. And this is what we're ultimately in the fourth stage phase of the evolution of the trade, is the primary trend decline or the aging trend. And we're not there yet. And the best that we are in is the alignment in energy, and probably after today we're going to get a reset. Now, will tomorrow's reset be something that we would chase? We already have the core position, and some may have not even reduced the nibble. It's whatever you have. If you're trying to re-escalate the position, I understand that, but it's whether or not you want to follow the discipline. Ultimately, the energy build usually has to go from down here to either above the zero line or above here in order to escalate the core position beyond the core position. Whether, if the core position was $100,000 and you want to increase it by 10 or 20%, you have to wait for the proper setup to increase the core position. An energy build would be useful, low participation, which is what we have, but you also would want to see a bullish divergence where professionals are buying relative to retail money in the pro and public index. So we're going to talk about that. You can pull up some of the subscriber videos to go over and review those concepts. But it has to be a viable reset. Will tomorrow's reset be viable? It's a reset, but it doesn't follow the profile of what we typically would go after or someone would go after. It's something that those are the choices that people have to make when they use the evolution of the trade themselves. If you buy something that's under sub ideal conditions rather than the perfect setup, you have to be prepared to be disappointed. I mean, the invisible hand and the setup within that, the invisible hand kind of knows what it's doing, and if it's going to get pushed up, say today's rally goes through until Tuesday and shows an extension of the energy build that goes way down and pinned on the floor, chasing after a 10-day open rally today, it might not prove to be profitable. Or it could prove to be profitable. The problem is we don't know. So you just have to wait. The core position has the exposure, and that's how you play it. So that's the basis of within the evolution of the trade. If you choose to modify it, that's up to the individual. It's there to remove opinion. It's there to remove self from the equation. It's really nothing more than that. We follow the primary trend. We study whether or not the participation is high and low, whether we have a bullish or bearish setup. In this case, it's a bearish energy build and a bearish setup. It's difficult to chase this and I know if you don't have the core position, or if you reduced it, or you're not following the evolution of the trade, it's the fear of, well, what happens if it goes up to silver goes up to 100 here? Well, good, go up to 100. Chances it won't do that because everything takes time. But it's the fear, and if you're being driven by fear, then the evolution of the trade is no longer being adhered to, and self is taking over, and you probably will make more mistakes. So the point of the evolution of the trade is it's a roadmap, it's a guideline of which I adhere to, and I suggest others adhere to, and it works for silver and any other market that's inside the matrix. It's all the same. Apply these techniques to, say, for example, if you are a subscriber to Bitcoin. If Bitcoin resets in the near future, it's got a different outcome. And if you have any questions about how that would work, just contact me directly and we can talk about it. But we're talking about silver right now, and I just want to go over the points of the evolution of the trade and don't abandon them. If you abandon them, bad things tend to happen. I mean, I don't know what they will be. They usually come afterwards, and you sit there and say, boy, that was a bad idea. So that's basically the setup for the silver and the evolution of the trade. It's really evolution of the trade is the guideline which we want to adhere to. So if you have any questions about the evolution of the trade specifically, please go to the blog. It's under the matrix top menu. You click that, and there's a link that will go understanding the matrix, evolution of the trade. Read that in detail. If you have any questions after that, you can contact me directly and we can work it over. So thanks for watching the video, and enjoy watching silver from the sidelines, I guess. Take care.